back. Bonfire Banter. We got 3 new guests here. We're so excited to do a little Oktoberfest episode. We have Matt over there joining us today. We have Bryan Pawlowski, and we got Diggs. So what are you guys drinking here? I know that you guys, a couple of you guys, Bryan, you came with your old cooler. You came with all this stuff here. You got this one sitting out. Why don't you go, tell us about this one.
All right. Well, this is brought by Matt.
Oh, it was Matt's beer. Okay, cool.
It's a North Coast Old Stock 2014. It's an old ale. Cellar and rye barrels, correct?
Wheat whiskey.
Wheat whiskey. Okay.
Wheat whiskey?
Yeah.
That's the type of beer that it is?
No, the type of barrel it was aged.
Type of barrel it's in, okay.
Yeah,
So they brewed the beer and then let it rest in barrels.
Okay. Wine kind of does that too. They'll put it in certain kind of oak barrels and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah. So like whiskey uses just first use charred oak barrels. You know, and then basically after they take the whiskey out and bottle it. Yeah. Normally, there wouldn't be necessarily use for the barrel. What brewers have done is they're starting putting beer in those barrels, and you're kind of getting the same thing through the basically the changing of temperatures, the expansion and contraction of the wood. That beer is going into the wood and coming out.
Gotcha.
And when it comes out, it takes some of that flavor that was in the wood from the whiskey with it.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. So they're repurposing these old barrels, and that's pretty commonplace for this stuff, or just some of the ones of it?
I don't know if it's commonplace, but it's definitely becoming more and more popular.
Certain styles are more suited for it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stouts are probably the biggest range of what they're used for.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Barrel-aged stouts are very popular.
It can be real strong flavors. So if you have something that's like very delicate, putting that into a bourbon barrel, the bourbon and the wood might kind of overpower.
Gotcha.
Whatever other flavors you're trying to go for.
So this is this beer here. Did we got a little bit of this?
Yeah.
You definitely
Tell
smell
us
the whiskey.
what you're tasting.
Absolutely. I do taste a little bit of the whiskey, and I'm a whiskey guy, so this is kind of right up my alley. For some reason, this reminds me of something like a stout. Am I far off on this? Like it's a little thicker, or I don't know, like it's heavier?
It's definitely thicker and heavier.
Yeah.
ABV wise, it definitely
it's up there.
A little bit more, yeah.
Yeah. What are we talking on this bad boy?
I'd have to check the bottle. Definitely double digit.
14.44.
14. All right, we're talking here now. All right.
Well, it's you got to kind of catch up.
Yeah.
Normally we'd be drinking at noon because of the Bears game, but because it's a late start,
we got to flex us and screw up everything.
Go Bears.
Yeah, go Bears. We were supposed to watch the game before, and now they flexed us, and now we're stuck watching the game on Bryan's phone over here. Back here, these guys are getting the shaft on the viewing experience. So the next time we'll get a TV out here, we'll make the experience better for you guys. Hopefully we won't be shooting during another Bears game anytime soon. But as far as your kind of experience, Diggs, how'd you get involved in craft beers? What's kind of your favorites here?
I started, brewing beer probably about 10, 12 years ago when a roommate of mine just came home with a bunch of home brewing equipment. Yeah. And said, we're going to make beer. I'm like, all right. And
sounds pretty good.
Yeah. So we started brewing down when I was living in the city on, started doing, extract brewing, which is, basically the, brewing obviously uses a lot of, malts, but an extract brewing is kind of a more amateur way of doing it where you use powder or liquid extract that's made from the malt. And then you use that to make your beer, and then eventually graduated doing all grain brewing where you don't use any liquid extract. You're just using straight up malt. And so recently I actually upgraded my system from just doing it on my stovetop to having a 20-gallon three vessel electric system, conical fermenters and the whole thing. So it's like a small professional brewery.
I was gonna say it seems like a far cry from like a bathtub or something like that.
Oh
you
yeah,
got something going here.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome though. Yeah. What's like the next step for you there? Is like there another piece of equipment you got soon you want to get hands on?
Yeah. So the next piece of equipment I really need is a glycol chiller.
Glycol chiller. Okay.
Yeah. So because I moved to using 15-gallon conical fermenters and. You can't, previously I would use glass carboys, and once the beer is done fermenting, you cold crash it by just putting it in a refrigerator. Okay. When you have a 15-gallon conical fermenter, you can't just pick it up and move it. So I need to get a glycol chiller system so that I can actually chill the beer, cold crash it, and then I rack the kegs and serve from kegs. But,
That's awesome.
so yeah, glycol chiller is next on my list. But
yeah, I figured it's always something else in a hobby like that. It's like I'm sure there's always something new you want to get.
Yeah.
What kind of beers do you typically brew?
So I think my best beer to date is a double IPA that I do with mainly Australian hops, Zaka, Vic Secret, Galaxy, and Eldorado. It's usually between 9.5% and 10.5%, depending on how things go. That's probably my best beer, but I make anything from, I can't really make lagers right now until I get a glycol chiller. Gotcha. But I make a really good black lager that in my homebrew club I came in second place with one year in a lager competition.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's the when you're making this stuff? Just you and the friends, or?
Yeah. I got a buddy of mine that I brew with. He's my main brew partner, and we develop recipes together, and then make.
Are you trying to sell this stuff, or is it just as a hobby you guys drink it?
Yeah, it's just as a hobby. Yeah,
give it away and stuff to the family.
Yeah,
you
can't sell it unless you have an alcohol license. But,
I didn't even think about
big
that.
trouble there.
Do you want to eventually?
I'm trying to get this guy in trouble on camera.
Having your own
you're
brewery
selling
and
any?
making your
Yeah.
own stuff.
Yeah, I mean. I've looked into it, but honestly, you really can't make that much money at it unless you own the brewery. Just being a head brewer somewhere, I mean, at a great brewery, you might make 70 or 80 grand a year, but that's really lucky. I think most brewers don't make anywhere near that kind of money. Yeah. Plus, you're working, almost every day, and really long hours, and it's a lot of work to be a brewer. Most of it's cleaning. You're just cleaning equipment constantly. So it's a great hobby, but would I want to do it professionally? I don't know. It would.
Seems like a pretty fun hobby, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like making your own beers and messing with the flavor profiles. That was pretty badass.
Yeah, since I started, with this new system that I built during the lockdown, haven't really bought much beer just because I've been able to brew, 10, 13 gallons at a time, and I don't really run out.
Yeah, right.
So do you think, even though it's a hobby, do you think it pays for itself in like not spending as much money on beer at a store or at a restaurant or a bar?
I think it can. I'm trying to do different things to make it more affordable. For example, I'm trying to culture my own yeast and grow my own yeast strains instead of, because for my double IPA, I use Imperial Yeast A24, which is a blend of two different yeast strains. That's designed to encourage like juicy type flavors out of big juicy IPAs, but that yeast is like 14 or $15 for one package, and in a 13 or 14 gallon batch you need like 8 or 9 packages. Yeah, so that's a lot of money.
I was gonna kind of ask about that, like price wise, how much is this stuff like?
Yeah, so the yeast can get expensive, but if you've got enough time, you can that's kind of where the science comes into it, is you can just grow that yeast up. From just having a little bit to having enough to inoculate, 15 gallons of beer.
So really, you only need to buy one bag and then just give it a little extra time to propagate.
Right. It gets more complicated with the blended strains. So the A24 is a blend, and you're not really able to control which strains of that are in there are growing. So it's kind of maybe it's a bad example of being able to grow the yeast, but like other strains like American ale yeast, which is a very common yeast. Made it, you can make beers from IPAs to, American lagers with that strain. Actually, no, I think I misspoke there. You can't use that in a lager. But either way, that strain is one that you could start off with just one package, and over a 3-week period of time, grow enough to have a pitching rate for, a beer that otherwise you would need to spend $150 on yeast for.
Yeah, which is that's a pretty good amount of money, pretty good chunk.
For just the yeast, you also have to consider
grain,
the water cost.
There's a lot more that goes into it than just that.
Fuel for burning the burners, as long as you do.
Yeah, I run actually all electric. So
nice.
So I built an electric panel from a kit, and so that's a 30 amp panel that controls heating elements that are very similar to what you would find in a water heater. And there's 2 heating elements, one for the hot liquid tank and one for the boil kettle. I can't run them both at one time. Which I don't really need to, but it brings liquid to a boil way faster than a stovetop would.
Is it consistently better too, and keeping the temperatures at the levels you want?
So inside the, I'll have to send you a picture of it, so maybe you could post it while we're talking.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
The inside the kettles, they're custom built kettles from Spike Brewing. In the sidewall of the kettle, there's a temperature probe. and that connects to the electrical panel. And so the electrical panel, you set the temperature what you want the kettle to be at, and it'll just turn the heating element on and off automatically to maintain that temperature.
Very nice.
It's awesome.
So yeah, it's super sweet. It makes
Yeah.
brewing so much more fun. And,
Yeah, I bet.
yeah.
Well, getting that, the new toys and stuff always is.
Yeah, for sure.
But and then Bryan, what's kind of your thing? When did it become a hobby? How did you get involved?
I used to like light beer a lot growing up when I first got in.
That's
old enough
everybody,
to
right?
drink.
Yeah, yeah.
Old enough to drink.
When we were all 21.
Yeah,
yes.
all 21 for
Yeah.
sure. And then started expanding my horizons with it started out because there wasn't too many options back in the day.
Yeah.
Kind of an old man now.
Yeah.
So it was like Sam Adams, and then from Sam Adams progressed to like Arrogant Bastard Ale and some Three Floyds, like Robert the Bruce stuff that was in cans at the local convenience store.
Yeah.
And then from there it's like
It's blown up in like culture, culturally.
for me, what really got me into the craft beer scene was Bourbon County, 2009.
Oh, okay.
Friend had it, and he's like,
And
"Oh,
that's
you
a
gotta
type
try
of
this."
beer? Or?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's by Goose Island. It's a
By
barrel
Goose
aged stout.
Okay.
And it was kind of like the first of its kind back in those times.
Yeah.
And I tried it, and it was like this chocolatey barrel amazingness, and I was like, I got to see what else is out there. And then from there, it just spiraled off into.
Yeah. I kind of did that a little bit right after high school, after college when I started drinking. But it was Miller Lights. Everyone's drinking Miller Lite or something like that. And then I would start to get into like Blue Moon. But then now I find that too, like, I don't know if syrupy is the right word, but it's like, I don't know. It feels like they're injecting too much of whatever their flavor is in there. Where like an Oberon to me is a little more subtle, but it tastes better to me. I don't know if that I don't know
Yeah,
the
that makes sense.
terminology
That makes sense.
way you guys
Like
do.
a Bell's Oberon?
Yeah, Bell's Oberon, yeah. I like that a lot better. So I got the Belgian ales. That's more kind of where I lean. But what's like your go-to type of beer now?
Everything, just because
Yeah.
I'm so,
All over
I'll
the
say
place.
obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I like trying everything. Like,
Yeah.
it's always been barrel-aged stouts, and now it's sours, wild ales, and more recently, even though it's not technically beer, is mead. It's a honey wine.
Okay.
Got a couple friends and a lot of home brewers that make it, and it's just awesome stuff. I wish I'd actually.
I was gonna say, what do you have? You want to try? You guys want to try something else here?
Yeah, we got
or-
this,
Let's get the
yeah.
So this is actually from More Brewery. This is right down the street in Villa Park. I think they're actually out of Huntley, and these guys are fantastic. These guys are fantastic. They've actually donated some beer to the show today. We also gave us this sweet Stein. So this is now our Bonfire Banter Stein. So thank you guys so much for that. If I try not to spill it everywhere.
If it's a full crowler, you got an angry
I
port.
was gonna say it's definitely, you got to go for it for sure.
It's hard to
Get a
pour
little
out of those
taste
crawler cans,
Yeah.
to be honest.
They're pretty gigantic.
Someone needs to
Pass this
make a
back.
new
Actually, I'm gonna
crowler
give
that
myself a
pours
little bit more.
easier.
Okay, we'll try this a little bit better. So let's
Thank
read
you
some of
more.
the stats about this. This is 5.5 ABV, right? We got it's an it's a German style Weiss beer brewed with traditional German malts as well as noble hops. So our guy Aaron over at More Brewery was kind of giving me the details on that. They're gonna maybe stop by down the road when we maybe do another beer episode or get these guys out and let us taste test some more stuff down there. So thanks again, More Brewery. Check them out. How is this, guys?
It's really good. It's light and refreshing.
It's very light.
Yeah.
Nice
Coming off that
maltiness
14
to
and-
it, not bitter at all.
Okay. Matt, do you like this one?
That's all right.
It's all right.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
Just
I'm not a
clean
big
beer.
lager guy, so
Okay. So not up your alley, really, just
no.
in general. Yeah.
Just a clean, good beer.
Yeah, it's very clean.
It does taste really good. So yeah, excellent stuff here from More Brewery.
Yeah, pour some
I had
more.
tried their Break Room Buddies the other day, which was kind of a citrusy IPA. I had told them that I kind of liked Bell's Oberon, and that Belgian ale. So they had told me about Break Room Buddies ale.
That's an
over
excellent
there.
pour there, bud.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That's why
Brian
I
hooked
didn't
it
want to
up.
pour
Yeah,
to
thank you,
begin with.
But so that's pretty fantastic. What else do you got with you today, though? What is?
Oh, I brought a bunch of stuff.
I know you got a bunch of cool stuff in there. A little traveling.
So we have one from J. Wakefield Brewing in Miami, correct?
Miami.
I think
okay.
it's just outside.
Oh, it's just
but
outside of Miami. We'll just say
Okay.
Miami.
Like,
Yeah.
like we're
We're in Chicago.
Watching from outside Illinois, we're in Chicago.
Yeah,
It's called
exactly.
Count Mashula. I'm not sure which camera to do. Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To More
Cheers.
Brewery. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you more.
Mark.
We appreciate it. So this one's out of Miami, or
Yeah,
right
it's,
outside Miami.
called Count Mashula. It's a bourbon barrel aged imperial milk stout with Cocoa Krispies, Cocoa Pebbles, Cocoa Puffs, Count Chocula, vanilla, cocoa nibs, and lactose.
I'm gonna need to try this
Jesus.
one. This sounds good
Yeah.
here. We're gonna have to get that one going in a minute.
Hopefully on the next beer thing you do, my buddy Ricky from Foreign Exchange, shout out to Ricky.
Foreign exchange. Thank you.
What could possibly go wrong? It's an IPA with Citra, Strata, and Galaxy hop, triple pale ale.
Okay.
Some milk sugar added. And then I got some Energy City Brewing varieties here. Got
Are these all different breweries?
Yeah, no, these three are the same. So my buddy just went to Energy City. They had a release yesterday. They're only open for like 4 hours a day for like just a pickup. You can't even
Really?
go in and drink.
Where is it at?
In Batavia, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, I think
it's out that
Batavia.
ways.
Huh.
So Energy City, they make really good IPAs. We have a Saison. It's a raspberry black currant flavored one.
That's interesting.
Is it current or current?
Currant, whatever.
I like the long A there.
Mango
Currant.
nana.
It sounded fancy.
Yeah, I
Sorbet.
like to go do my shopping at Target.
It's
Target.
exactly.
I call it Target, so maybe that's what's wrong with me.
So what'd you say with what'd you
This
say
is a
this
mango
was?
nana.
A mango nana.
Yes, it's mango, banana, and natural flavors.
Now
IPA.
we're talking. You got a lot of fruity ones over there. I can dig
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't it be like mango
And we have
grandma if it's mango nana?
Mango nana.
Yeah,
Nana. Bistro Grande. Grand.
Grand, yeah.
Mango, banana, and pineapple
They don't ever call
smoothie
it the Rio
style.
Grande
Smoothie
for some
style.
reason.
What does that
Berliner
mean?
wise.
What does
A
that mean?
smoothie
style?
Berliner. So is there vanilla in there then?
Is that why?
Lactose, maybe.
I'm sure it's lactose.
So what's up with the lactose? What is that? I mean, I'm hearing lactose and then like milk. I mean, like, what are we talking? here?
Milkshake IPAs are
Okay.
I think they're not quite as popular as they were maybe a couple of years ago. I don't know if you feel that
They
way.
still are.
They
It
still
depends on who makes them, which ones. There's still a big following behind them. And if you see a lot of new breweries open up, that's usually the style they start out with is IPAs and those, and they just keep blasting those out.
Well,
Yeah.
I think with IPAs, usually they're not barrel aged, and in terms of like popular style combined with like quick turnaround time, because I mean commercially, it's not like you need to like throw an IPA and have it sit into a barrel for like 9 to 18 months. It's just like
it'd
few
be
weeks later,
garbage by then.
Yeah.
few weeks later, boom, it's on the shelves. You're selling it to people, and especially with like smaller breweries, cash flow is probably like a bigger issue. So that immediate return on investment, I think is much more important.
Oh, it's great for them. It's great that if they make a good one too, people will buy them all. And
So you're saying the IPAs you could crank out pretty quick
Yes.
turnover?
Yeah.
And why aren't they barrel aged? What was the other way of doing that? If you're not barrel aging something,
You just have it sit in a fermenter, and
okay, a fermenter.
once it comes out of the fermenter, goes through a canning line, bottling line,
go. Okay.
Kegging
kegging,
line,
whichever format you choose to sell it in.
Yeah.
And then when you are aging these ones, how long do they typically age? Or I know there's probably a wide variety, but like, what's a common? Is it 10 years? Are we talking like
No,
a
no.
year?
6 months
Some-
to a year.
yeah, some
I
places
mean,
do 3 months, and then it's like 6 months to a year typically for like
Okay.
a heavier stout, and then some places go off the deep end and it's like 3 years, 5 years.
Gotcha. And it's just going to keep imparting that flavor of the barrel in there? Is
Or
that the
they-
reason why you leave it longer?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people are very selective on the barrels they use.
You gotcha.
Certain barrels give certain flavors, like certain barrels have more char in them, and
That makes sense, yeah.
same flavor profiles. And brewers are at the point where they've used so much, there's so much research out there now that they can get certain profiles off just certain barrels that they want.
Yeah.
And it's actually really neat.
Yeah, it's pretty
think
cool.
There's still a certain like black magic to barrels, because just the original barrels themselves, when you're making whiskey,
Yeah.
you can go to a barn in Kentucky and literally sample 2 barrels made with like the same wood, the same char level, with the same
Slightly different.
sugar water in there,
Yeah.
or same corn juice, whatever you want to call it, and they could taste completely different.
Really?
And like a lot of that has to do with barrel position, because at different
Yep.
positions within that barn, you're gonna have different temperature profiles.
Holy shit! I
Which
would
is gonna
never think about that.
Yep.
Barrel position within the barn being slightly different temps.
Yeah,
It makes
so,
sense.
so like the temperature, at your floor is not the same as
It's
your
gonna be
temperature
cooler
at the
because
ceiling.
heat rises and it collects at the top of any structure. I mean,
Exactly.
There's,
And,
like,
and
crack
it's
in the
not
wall.
just temperature; it's how that
Air
temperature
coming in
changes.
affects it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And-
Level- oh, go ahead.
So like you don't really, like, you kind of have an idea with the barrel, different different whiskeys are going to give you like different flavors.
Yeah.
But it's never exact, and so you typically they put a nail in the barrel just like they do with whiskey, and they'll pull the nail and periodically sample it.
Gotcha.
And it's I think really hard for a smaller brewery to do barrel aging, because it's like you invested all this money.
Like you were saying, you need that cash flow. Like
not just that, but like you can have a barrel break, start leaking. You can have infection issues. You can have barrels that just don't come out how you wanted them to.
Infection issues. What are we talking with that? Do you know a little bit about this?
Yeah, actually, my most recent batch of beer, I think I got an infection on.
So what does that mean?
Well,
Like
it can mean a lot of things. It can sometimes be not a bad thing. Like for example, sour beers, they're intentionally infected with bacteria that cause the beer to taste
not
sour.
infection. It's just using.
Well, I guess it's not
specific
infection,
bacteria.
right? I guess if it's undesirable, then it becomes an infection.
Well, kind of like the same thing you were saying with like the strains or the yeast packets you get with multiple strains. Like ideally, the reason you buy 8 or 9 of those packets instead of propagating it is because like that's a controlled ratio.
True.
And you're getting a controlled ratio of like ester formation from those packets. Whereas if you just propagate it on their own, one would go quicker than the other depending on what you fed it, and then your mix would be off.
So much more science to this than I realized.
Yeah, we actually in my brew club we did. I didn't participate in the most recent batch that they did, but they had everybody brew. Again, I didn't participate, but all the members that wanted to brewed the same Russian Imperial Stout recipe, and we're partnered with Imperial Oak Brewing in Western Springs, and they procured I think 2 55-gallon whiskey barrels from us or for us from Heaven Hill, I want to say.
Ooh, nice.
And because they do a lot of whiskey aging too, or
they're
barrel
on
aging
the
too.
Same bourbon trail
Gotcha.
that's called, and it's not Louisville. It's right outside Louisville, Bardstown. I think Bardstown, Kentucky.
Cool, okay,
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but
Yeah, it's within the county, but I don't think it's.
yeah, it's in
really
the
proper.
county. I've actually never been to Heaven Hill, but I've been to a few of the other ones. But yeah, so we all, every club member that wanted to would pay X amount of dollars towards, buying the barrels that we got at cost from Imperial Oak. And they actually stored them for us too. And so everyone just made the same Imperial Stout recipe, and then we filled the barrels with it. But we taste all the beers before we put them in there, because you don't want to put an infected beer in there. Otherwise, the whole thing's just trash, which we actually did have. So one of the ones that they tasted was infected, and so the guy had to rebrew it. We added it again later. But, yeah, I think they taste it, every few months. And it was in there for, I want to say, around 13 months that it was in the barrels for.
So that's a long one.
Yeah, and we tried it.
We
tried it, and it was really good. But, yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, actually.
Now, is the beer group something that they started there, or did you guys reach out to them? And they
No, so our current homebrew club president and the head brewmaster / owner of Imperial Oak started our homebrew club together. They co-founded it. And then eventually the guy who, is the main brewmaster for Imperial Oak split off and just started Imperial Oak. So we're still kind of partnered with them, just because they're still friends with everybody and whatnot.
That's awesome. I love Quiet Giant Day.
Yeah, Quiet Giant.
What is that?
That's their barrel-aged Imperial Stout.
Okay. It's called
Quiet Giant.
Quiet Giant Day.
And every year they make different varieties of it. Like
Gotcha.
Different vanilla added, and they've done wild stuff as berries, like blackberry and all this stuff.
Yeah,
Really
Imperial
good
Oak's awesome. I love Imperial Oak.
So have you guys ever had the luck or the good fortune to end up at an Oktoberfest in Munich? And anyone ever spent any time over in Germany? Or
I've never been outside the country.
no?
So.
I've been to Munich before. It was not during Oktoberfest.
Okay.
I think it was like February. I had to fly to England on like a couple days' notice, so I looked at my flight options that didn't, financially cripple my company, and it was either like I think it was a 15-hour layover in Frankfurt, which is still a cool city.
Yeah.
If you can see it,
Could
I
have got
highly
some
recommend
sausages or
it.
something over in Frankfurt, right?
Or an 18-hour layover, slightly longer in Munich, and it was like both of them were going to be like overnights, like land, you like screw around for like an evening.
Yeah.
crash at a hotel or hostel, and then jump on a plane the next morning. And so I went with Munich.
Yeah, it sounds like a good choice. I think you made the right decision.
I had the opportunity to go to Frankfurt too. Munich is the better city for food and drink.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's what I've heard, at least, and I haven't been there either. But so you got to hit some of the local pubs and stuff, or how was it?
I hit 2.
Yeah.
My flight there got delayed, so I landed at 9:30
a.m.
9:30 p.m.
Okay.
I took the S-Bahn train to Marienplatz, which is the city center. I had a hotel a few blocks away, so just kind of huffed it there. Got more exercise than I really wanted that day. Checked in, threw my bags in the room, went outside. Just wandered around, found a place, started drinking beer. Had a nice meal to, set a nice baseline.
Yeah, you got to get something in your stomach, especially if you're going to go out.
Hit that.
Germany by
drank 3 or
yourself.
4 beers there. Went to another bar, drank 3 or 4 beers. And then it was okay, it was 2 a.m. So went back to the hotel, slept for 3 hours, woke up, took the train back to the airport, and flew home.
So you got your time. You at least spent your time wisely over there. You got to jam in a nice little night.
It would have been nicer to not be rushed and
Yeah,
actually enjoy
yeah.
it.
Of course. Did you find anything over there that maybe they didn't have in the U.S. or something they did really well when you were over there? Or?
No, I mean I think German beers are typically very clean, and they're certainly higher ABV.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off real quick. When you guys keep saying clean, what does that mean? They're super clean. Just the flavor profile.
Yeah, it's real light in flavor. It's
Gotcha.
not it doesn't hit you in the mouth.
And also visually how it looks.
Okay.
It's clear, crystal clear.
Gotcha.
It'll obviously have color to it, but
Yeah,
there's
you
nothing
taste with your
floating
eyes,
in it.
right?
For example, a New England IPA looks like you scooped up, a sandbar out of Lake Michigan,
Okay, yeah.
Whereas a German style Pilsner is going to be crystal clear.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we pretty good here? Okay. Yeah, so we'll come back here for another segment in a second. We'll see you back in a moment. We're going to check in on the Bears, so maybe give you guys an update now that we can take a look. But we will see you back here. We'll taste some more beers here. Bonfire Banter coming right back. All right, so we're back here. I want to talk about a couple of things. Well, first off, let's try another one of your beers here, Brian.
All right.
What do we got here? Tell us about it. Oh, that's the Count Chocula
That's the one
one.
we explained before,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
we'll
cool.
open this up.
Yeah, let's try this one out.
Give it
So
a whirl.
as he's doing that here, and we start to taste test this, I want to ask you guys. I know that during this brewing process, there's some slightly dangerous elements going on here. Have you ever had any bad experiences? You got some funny stories, Diggs? I don't know.
Yeah, boil over is always a worry, especially when your kettle's pretty much maxed out. So
what during the process you got to boil it all?
Yeah, so that's part of that's almost the final stage of the actual brewing process.
Okay.
Is boiling. And yeah, you got super sugary water essentially that you're heating up, and as it heats up, it develops what's called a hot break. It's essentially foam that forms on the top of the liquid that you're boiling, and I try to skim it off, but if you're drinking a little too much while you're brewing, you kind of forget certain steps, and so that just kind of concentrates the heat a lot as that foam builds on the top, because of course the heat comes from the bottom and then has nowhere to leave your kettle, and so I've had eruptions of just super sugary water all over my basement floor. Which,
if this stuff is getting on you, is it burning you up?
No, so I've never really gotten truly burned. Sometimes when I'm moving hoses between vessels, instead of closing the valve and pulling the hose, I've just pulled the hose without closing the valve, and then you get a real rude awakening.
I was gonna say that sounds like another one, maybe a couple too many beers while you're in the brewing process.
Yeah. Plus, there's so many different valves and stuff that you're working with that it's easy to get confused.
Lose track for a second.
And so I've gotten burned a little bit, but I think
I have a horror story for you.
Yeah, Brian,
so we're in October here.
Yeah.
I brewed home brewed with my buddy. He did most of the work. I was kind of the cleanup crew. And we were at that stage where we're using that, getting the water hot and transferring it. And he opened the latch, or whatever you want to call it, the valve, and we're just sitting there. Everything's going fine. And about 30 seconds in, the hose pops off, and I'm in the worst spot possible. This thing shoots about 100 miles an hour right into my leg.
Oh my god!
So I'm wearing shorts at the time, and I'm sitting there, and it hits me, so I get up right away.
Shorts
Don't know what's
was a bad choice.
Well, it was probably a good choice because having pants would
Oh, might have
take
been- yeah,
a
it might have
little
been
bit
worse.
longer to get off.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of true. Okay.
this thing starts going. My pants are smoldering. Smoke's coming out. At this point, I'm running around in a circle, trying to get my pants off and everything off as fast as I possibly
Is
can.
there anyone around during this process? Or is it
just my brewer
just the one
buddy.
buddy?
Yeah. We had a
Okay.
hose outside and stuff.
It wasn't
but,
like a room full of women sitting around.
No,
A bunch of
Well,
neighborhood
running
children.
around
we were in his driveway, so it'd be like, your neighbors could
You
see
were in
and
his
all this
driveway
stuff.
running around taking
Yeah,
your pants
yes.
off?
It was a
Yes.
necessity. So get
How
the pants
close do you live
off.
to his
I
school now?
run inside his house. I go in the shower and just proceed to pour cold water all over. My hand was a little bit burnt too. I'll send pictures so they can.
Yeah, we can do it.
Ooh, no.
Oh, there we go. We're down. We got a hot one.
I'll send pictures so we can put them on here to see how bad the burns were.
Yeah,
But
well-
it was a huge thing on my leg and a huge thing right here. And after about 4 days, it just turned to crispy flakes that just it was gnarly.
That
So yeah,
sounds
dangerous
terrible.
stuff. Use those hose clamps because they come in handy.
Yeah.
30 cents goes a long way.
Yeah, you learned the hard way.
Yeah,
it
lesson
sounds
learned.
like.
Here, you wanna-
Yeah, I
you get
did
that,
actually.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Let's,
All right,
let's try this one. See what we got here.
Let us know what you think. You know what's in it, so
That is straight like chocolate milk.
Base
Yeah.
beer is what? Russian Imperial?
I think it's a milk stout, so
Milk
there's
stout,
a little
okay.
lactose in there, but basically mostly the same.
That's pretty good. I don't know how many of these I could drink, but little sipper, that's good.
Yeah, by a warm fire, it's very
Yeah,
nice.
no,
Very
that's not bad at all.
Carbonation's really, really low. It's almost like a cask condition ale. Like it's not really carbonated very much at all.
I think you do see that a lot too in like barrel aged beers that they're not super overly carbonated by any
Yeah.
means. It's just the barrel takes some of that away. They do carb it at the end, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
there's
nice.
so many ingredients in there. I'm sure something in there, if there's any kind of like residual oils that would like screw with your surface tension
there's that
and
too.
prevent it from like carbing as much as it would
Yep.
otherwise.
Huh.
Still has decent head though, despite that. So
Yeah,
a lot of times you're using, like I like to brew with, like I've made like a peanut butter porter before.
A peanut butter porter.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
the thing with like fatty oils like that you get from peanut butter is they'll completely ruin head retention on a beer. Like there will be no head on the beer, despite it being heavily carbonated. No head, just because the oil just removes it.
Yeah, we all like good head. You know.
Fair enough. But surprisingly, this one, for how much different sugars and stuff are in there, different weird candies and what is it, Fruity Pebbles and
Cocoa Krispies.
Maybe they do a good
So
job
when it
getting the
says that, is
oils
this
off
just
in
the
the
flavors
cereal
of it,
making
or they
process.
No,
actually
they
using
literally
that
pour
pro-
it in the mash. They will
Really?
pour it straight from the cereal
The
box.
cereal, right? Because you're saying there's sugar
crazy.
involved anyway, so
Yeah, it's adding more sugar in it, but then
Yeah.
it's also could, like he said, maybe adding oils and other stuff to the final
Gotcha.
product that could take away from some of the things, but it also adds quite the flavors. That does
Yeah.
taste very chocolatey. You can almost get that cereal chocolateness. Like
absolutely does. That's right up my alley. I mean, like I said, I'm a big chocolate guy here, so
I get more chocolate than fruit. Like it's definitely more chocolatey than
Yeah.
like, fruit.
Yeah.
absolutely. It finishes maybe with a little bit of that. Like you feel a little sweetness at the very end.
Yeah.
But
No, it's
Yeah.
nice.
feels very milky up front, and then it kind of finishes with a little sweetness there.
Yeah,
What's
wonderful
ABV on
job,
that
Jay
one?
Wakefield. It is 13%.
Oh,
Damn.
13%. These are
Oh, we're stepping it down.
yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
stepping it down just a little bit. Sorry, guys. Could have brought the 20%. You want a little bit more? Tiny bit more
I'll
there?
take a little bit more of that one. I'm gonna have to, wash it down with some Oktoberfest here. I'm just gonna.
And this one wasn't barrel aged, right?
I don't believe. No, it is bourbon barrel aged.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So
Which you
then,
don't get a whole lot of that, but
No.
with so much adjuncts and cereal in there, it's not surprising that it's not
Yeah.
very
You kind of
pronounced.
smell it a little bit.
so do you think that these cereal companies are like super pumped about these guys using?
So a lot
some
of
of
them
their
actually
cereals in
do
there?
go after companies where they use the name of the barrel and they don't get permission, where they use the name of cereal or products
like
that
getting
they're
sued
putting
and
in it.
stuff?
Because
Yeah.
they put like some sours and stuff. They put gummy bears and they'll say the name of them. Like,
Oh, but
we
they don't
use-
actually get permission to use.
No,
those
some
things.
don't,
Yeah.
and they smaller ones don't, and they get the cease and desist letter, and that's very bad news for them. So they
Yeah.
either got to repackage everything or pretty much pull everything back that's on shelves. That
No.
probably
If you're a smaller brewery or a smaller business, the goal is to make something, do a large enough run that you know you're going to sell all of it. You sell all of it, and then when they send you the C&D, you're like, okay, well, we won't do that again.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That's a gray area with everything.
If you're small enough, they're not gonna get word about it until
they're
it
gonna
starts
say,
popping off and people are noticing.
They're gonna say it's not worth pursuing.
Yeah.
Oh, you did like this little 6 or 7 barrel batch, like that's not worth pursuing. But don't do it again, and you'll be like, okay.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, sorry. We'll go to a different cereal next time.
I think, though, in general, I don't know if any cereal companies have sent out C&Ds, but I would think...
Who has?
Just within the industry, there's a lot of individual breweries going after other breweries due to similar names, and in many cases, not really that similar names. But, I mean... It's the like patent and trademark law is like very goofy because like if you don't rigorously defend your trademark or your patent against anything that infringes upon it, the argument is that you're effectively allowing other people to use it.
So and that's a gray area too. Like as far as if brewers are going after other brewers, I'm guessing they're copying, some of their recipes too a little bit, or like trying to get the flavor profile and trying to match that same flavor. And then are they able to do any kind of cease and assist or what was you said C&D? Are they able to do that on just like a recipe? Like you can't copy the same recipe as us, or how does that work?
Very hard to,
right?
It's kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
It'd be like a brewer came from another thing and they just wanted to make that same brew.
So they can prove that you took the information and used it.
But funny enough, even if say it was Phillip Park to Lombard, like the water content could be a little bit different there. So it's really hard to get the same exact. You're not in the same setup. You're not in the same equipment. You'll make something similar, but getting it the exact same as you were doing before is really, really hard.
Gotcha.
The other thing though is, like, how much do you have to change a recipe for it to be considered distinct?
That's what I'm saying. You could change one measurement by like a tiny bit more and say it's a different recipe.
Because it's like at the end of the day, all beer uses water,
yeast or barley
hops, malt, yeast. So I mean, there's just subtle things. Like they could use a different hop to completely get around that recipe thing.
Yeah.
They could use a different yeast strain, and there's a lot of yeast strains that produce very similar results. But if it's a different yeast strain,
then you're good.
That's like using, like Thai basil versus like Italian basil or something.
Yeah. It's
furthermore, a lot of beers, like, they come down to actual style guidelines that the BJCP puts out. Like,
What's the BJCP?
BJCP is a brew judge certification program. So
I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah, so my girlfriend's actually a certified BJCP judge. Yeah,
sounds like you found a good mate here. In life
yeah, so she's got certified to brew or to judge home brewing competitions, and so they're judged against the BJCP guidelines. So if you're entering a beer into a German Pilsner style guideline, like that's what you're rated. You rated against. Like, okay, it should look like this, should smell like this, should taste like this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it's weird. Like there isn't really like, okay, X company makes aluminum this specific way and they have that patented, but like the way that Spaten makes their Oktoberfest versus New Glarus, for example, they could have the same recipe, but like it's not really an infringement per se. If they're using the same name or the same whatever, like, I mean, it kind of comes down to more of like how it's marketed rather than like how it's produced, I guess.
Did you say Spaten?
Yeah.
Okay. I always thought it was kind of strange how they pronounce that.
Why? How's it spelled?
Spaten, but it's Spaten.
But there's 2 dots, whatever that means above that.
But like
the umlaut.
Well, no, the umlauts are usually over vowels, but like Spaten, you're getting like a sh sound from like just an S.
Yeah.
But then like schnitzel, like SCH.
Yeah.
So
what
what's the point of the C and the H? They're just like bystanders there.
Yeah, is this all German words? I mean, we all know about the Germans,
I don't know. I don't think we have enough time to talk
Germans.
about the German language. Although I will. I feel like I should ask this: how many Germans does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know how many.
1, because they are very efficient and lack humor.
I can dig that. All right, we're gonna call it the lightning round here.
Lightning round.
Yeah, we're gonna try to see how many beers
The
we can taste
Blitzkrieg
in this
what?
next 30-minute segment. So we're gonna start with this one, Straight Jacket. It's a barley wine from Antihero.
From Revolution.
Before Revolution, yeah. Antihero is
one of their beers.
Another beer from
It is
Revolution.
barrel aged.
Okay. So you said you're not a fan, but you can try some.
Yeah, I'm gonna try some.
Maybe
See,
we'll
he's a
make a
sport,
believer out of
you
him.
know?
Lightning round. Let's
Probably not, but I'll try it.
Probably not.
I don't know, man. After we
canned
drink
barley
through all
wine, though,
these
that's-
beers, you might be like, "Oh man, that barley wine."
That damn barley wine. I can't
Canned
get it out
barley
of my
wine. I've
mind.
never.
Disclaimer:
this is
we're all
the first
taking
I've
Ubers
seen.
home.
This
Yes,
is,
we are. We do practice responsible drinking here at Bonfire Banter. We have not gotten to the point where we could order these guys town cars yet, but we are hopefully going to be there soon. So look out for our Patreon account and make that happen.
You can
So,
have the rest.
I brought rollerblades. I'm rollerblading home.
what'd you say?
I'm rollerblading home.
Yeah,
Like it's
good.
1994.
Ooh,
Yeah.
full glass. Boys are
Yeah.
missing
Oh,
out.
you're
Enjoy
going.
all that, please.
Okay, so called barley wine. Why?
It's made
That's
with
just
barley.
the name of it. It's obviously made with barley.
The
but why
ABV
is it a beer? I mean,
The
why is it
ABV
called
is
wine?
so high.
The ABV is
usually.
in the wine range.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
that's what I
obviously
was
they can't call it wine.
Yeah,
And so how do we,
skirt around these rules a little bit, kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
just make a new name.
Barley wine. Okay.
So as
I
we were
gotcha.
mentioning off air, this particular
Yeah.
style and how it's done is what I would consider the ones I like,
Okay.
and the other there's ones that are way more bitter than this.
Mhm.
So if
Because
you
it's
can imagine
bitter.
it being completely way
Some,
more bitter.
Like really malty.
Like
right
dry
here,
your
right?
mouth
am
bitter.
Am I right here saying this is real
Yeah.
malty?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got like a nice malt sweetness to it. This is actually really pretty good for a barley wine.
Hey, here
See
we
what
go.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not that traditional.
What's the
like,
ABV on this one?
It's up
Oh, it's
there.
another light one.
Got it over there on your right.
And make me stretch.
Yeah.
It's weird to see a canned barley wine.
And make me read. 13.1.
Oh my
Okay.
God. It's another light one, he says. Yeah.
No, it's light.
Just-
well, barley,
there you
it's
went.
kind of light for a barley wine, honestly. But
Yeah. Okay.
No,
they
I
can
mean,
get up
I
there.
mean, any beer that's 13% is very few beers cross the 14-15% threshold, and a lot of that's I think down to yeast selection because a lot of yeasts won't get you anything past that.
it just
You'd
won't
have to-
survive.
You'd have to
The
do
alcohol doesn't
a
survive.
Yeah,
ice
that's something we haven't
distillation.
talked about either. Like
Yeah.
the kind of yeast and for different styles and how you need more aggressive ones to eat more sugar.
Is that what it's doing? It's
I
the yeast
believe if
eats
I'm
the
not
Yeah,
yeast.
and
mistaken.
they're more tolerant because obviously as the yeast eats sugar, it creates alcohol. So as the
Okay.
alcohol level increases, it will cause the yeast to stop doing what it does.
Yeah.
And so certain yeasts are better, more suited for high alcohol environments, where as the alcohol gets 14-15%, they still survive and are continuing to produce alcohol, continuing
Okay.
to do their fucking job.
So is this how you get a yeast infection? Is you just drink too much beer? Or how does that work? Well, you guys are talking about infections and yeast. I thought I don't know how this works.
I don't think it works that way in beer, but
No.
it's 2020. Anything's possible.
I've learned
Anything's
a lot
possible.
of new things. I don't know. That was an honest question. Okay, so let's go lightning round. So we're doing lightning round. Let's not forget what we're doing here.
Oh, so we got
So let's do another
yeast?
beer, and then we'll get you guys on the axe here in a second too.
Oh, sweet.
All right, so let me get a quick rinse.
We got the mango banana sorbet.
There's lightning round. Yeah, downstairs fridge.
So
Get those little ones.
even-
you can even grab big ones too. We might need big ones.
This asks us to gently roll it before opening.
Oh, gently roll it. Do you want to roll it on that plywood or something, or yeah? That's a nice roll. That's a good roll. Yeah. Show off how you have to drink this wine. You got to get ready. Oh, there you go. Now you're getting crazy. You're getting crazy now. I think you're going
Shake
overboard. Yeah. Just shake it real good. Yeah. You put your thumb on it when you open it.
Like that episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah. Which one is that?
Like Bart puts a beer for Homer in a paint can shaker, and Homer opens it and the whole town erupts in beer foam.
The whole time you were talking about the brewing, having a couple too many beers during the brewing process, I just kept thinking about Peter Griffin. I was thinking about I'm just thinking about just laying on the conveyor belt and shit, drunken. But yeah, so let's see what we got here. So this was the mango banana.
Yeah.
And who is this by?
This is by Energy City, and I believe it's Batavia. We'll
Okay, so
try to
this is
read
another
here.
local-ish
I've
brewery.
not heard of these guys.
Yeah, I've never heard of them either.
Also
Canned
contract brewed at Church
at
Street.
church.
Oh, no
okay.
kidding.
Go figure.
These guys
oh,
are
man,
using
Church Street
as
is
well.
killing it.
Church Street is killing it.
They have. I mean, their
equipment.
operation's massive.
Is
so
it?
I mean, yeah, like
Okay.
they've got huge
That doesn't look like
fermenters
juice.
and just
That looks like orange juice. Yeah.
yeah. And see, that's kind of where I depart from the general trend of liking
This
cloudy
is very
beers
popular
and
beer
whatnot.
right now.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's-
But I don't
You
subscribe
see
to
them
it.
come and go.
I don't
Going fast.
subscribe.
And that's what they are.
Yeah. He's like, I get that. I get that it's popular, but I don't subscribe.
Like, that's fine that other people like it. Like I'm not naysaying. I just
Yeah.
personally
It's just not my jam.
I
yeah.
prefer clear beer.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Something wrong with that.
Looks like there's some pulp in here. I think maybe.
Yeah, be careful at the very, very bottom of
Well,
that.
that's the reason you roll it. Like the whole point of rolling it or turning it upside down was to like.
Try to get it equally distributed.
Damn it, Bryan. That's why you rolled it.
I rolled again.
You did roll it. That was a fantastic roll. I don't know if I've seen a better roll.
Smells like orange juice.
It really does,
It was a
and it almost.
tastes
one
like
on a
juice, too.
D20.
I was gonna say the first initial sip is like, it's very juice forward here.
It's very juicy.
Wow. That is an
Very.
intense, juicy flavor.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
sure how
really-
this
it's
is
like
going to
Dole.
mix
Is this
with everything
Dole?
we drank previously.
You say
But,
this-
you
yeah.
know.
You say this is Dole? Dole makes
No.
this? No.
No.
I mean, it does taste like
Coming
that.
to a
Seriously.
supermarket
Yeah,
near
It
you.
tastes like a pineapple, like
Like a
can of
mango
Dole.
pineapple mix
Yeah.
one they made.
There's,
Yeah.
there's like almost like a.
But it'll get you
like
drunk.
A slight,
you know?
almost. It's like how you get like rubber from stone fruit sometimes.
What do you say?
Like if you're doing something with like apricot or like
Okay.
peaches, like
My
sometimes,
apricot game is weak. I'll tell you that much.
You get a rubber
Alright.
taste out of that?
No, well, it's like adjacent. If that makes sense. It's like kind of rubbery, but not exactly.
I don't know if you want to go into naming specific beers here, but that might help. But I don't know if you want to go that far. So
As far as what?
it's like trying to get whatever taste he's describing, because
Oh.
we've had a lot of the more like similar beers.
I gotcha.
No,
Being big.
it's not like brewery specific. Like I think like stone fruit sours, like especially if you drink them warm, or like
Drinking a sour beer warm.
well
Sounds
specifically
awful.
stone fruit sours, apricots,
Okay.
peaches,
Stone fruit sour,
nectarines.
you're saying,
if you-
okay.
like sometimes they have like a rubbery note to them.
Huh.
Like not that you necessarily chew on.
Yeah, I was gonna
racquetballs
say
as a
like
kid,
it's funny to.
but like
It's a funny word to use as
So,
a taste
in the same token,
describer.
coconut beers do sometimes taste like the smell of suntan lotion.
I could get that. I feel
So
like
it's
coconut
probably
anything
along
kinda
the
makes
same
me-
well. It's probably
like
a certain
pina colada
taste
for me,
profile.
even kind of
He's-
like.
I don't know if you
That's
eat
what
rubber, but
yeah.
he's saying it's
Each their
rubbery.
own on their
and,
terminology, but we'll go with rubber.
yeah, rubber.
Yeah. So what do we? What's the next on the docket? I say we just keep this lightning. Actually, let's get the X. We'll
they
give
have
a
jug now?
quick second to.
Signing the axe.
Well, we said we wanted to go.
do we have
lightning
to roll
here,
that
right?
one too? Because if we have to, you can start rolling.
I
it.
just
Yeah,
started rolling
yeah,
the
yeah,
axe.
we're starting the rolling
This is not going
process.
to go over very well. But
So this is our axe. Be careful. There's no guard. We're gonna start with you over here.
Oh, that
Dennis.
doesn't seem very OSHA compliant.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't tell OSHA.
can
not
I
here.
get
Don't
workman's
be a
comp
dick.
here? if
Yeah,
I,
better-
you know.
Yeah.
OSHA
They
better
have
not be watching.
subscribed as of now. And just don't do the old Bryan Connell and sign on the axe head, please. The reason being, there's actually a good reason behind it, is because when the axe handles fill up, we're going to keep getting new axe handles. Now, he's trying to live forever and have, his name on the axe head, which,
Don't
we
we
don't
all
subscribe
want to live forever though?
I agree. I mean,
you
Bryan
want all
was,
the names going the same way?
No,
Oh,
just
no,
go,
they kinda
anywhere
ruined
you
it.
got space there, brother.
Kind of want to do it to this side, unfortunately.
Can I sign my name on like the heel just to
Oh,
be
yeah,
like difficult?
absolutely. I'm cool with that. I think somebody's got to. That's a good real estate, I think even on the camera you'll catch that every once in a while. Nice little, end signature. So what do we? Let's see what we got. I'm gonna steal this away from Bryan here real fast. Bistro Grande smoothie. This sounds right up your alley here, Diggs. Mango,
Thanks.
banana, pineapple smoothie, flavored Berliner.
Berliner.
Oh, liner. Okay.
Style Weiss beer for full flavor, gently roll. You gotta do the roll, motherfucker.
You're rolling this time.
Yeah, I'll do the roll.
Yeah,
I'll do the
yeah.
roll. I can roll.
Yep.
All right.
That fat. Oh, look at that.
This is a nice. You gotta be careful with it. We're gonna treat it nice.
Beautiful roll.
Yeah.
So I forget exactly
You're like a
what the
sophisticated
profile
woman,
of Berliner Weiss is. Like, usually they're like, aren't they a little lighter on the ABV, like 5 to
They
5.5?
actually- Yeah, usually
Yeah, they're
very
supposed
light.
to be like light and refreshing.
And
Very
the
clear,
carbonation's really high,
slightly-
right? Like
yeah,
it's almost
highly
like a
carbonated
champagne
and
almost.
Slightly tart.
Are we talking traditional style or America's take on it?
Well, I mean, probably traditional in my mindset, but I mean, I haven't had that many of them.
Are
so.
traditional ones kettle soured? like American ones
Well,
all seem to be. I
would
don't know the answer to
imagine-
that.
I want to also take another second to say thank you again, More Brewery, for this fantastic Fest beer. 5.5 ABV. Fantastic. Thank you for the Stein. Really appreciate you guys. Sorry to cut you guys off.
And add to that, if you have not had More Brewing's food, they have phenomenal burgers, and I believe right now they're running the Oktoberfest menu, which hopefully didn't end, but you'll get your schnitzel and all that stuff up there. Really good stuff. Their
what I
fries
got
are
there?
phenomenal.
For the
You ever had
Oktoberfest
their food
menu?
up there?
I've had a
Moore's-
couple apps,
Moore's food is-
but I haven't
is really
really
good.
eaten a ton
Oh,
of their
man.
food yet. And
Their
I've heard
food's
the
to
same
die
thing you're
for.
saying.
Food's
Their
really
food's
good.
really,
I
really
don't think
good.
there's anything they have there that's bad. Their like loaded Cobb salad is awesome.
They do do they do like Nashville
tikka
Nashville hot
masala is
chicken
great.
sandwich?
Their
like,
Nashville
that's
hot
really
chicken
good?
is really, really good.
Yeah.
Well,
Is it-
I'm a little bit particular about Nashville hot chicken, but it's still good. I mean, there's only and although to me there's only 2 places in town you can get it. Fry the Coop at like 83
Oof, Fry the
and
Coop's good.
North.
I've never
It's
been.
also
Fry the
really
Coop's good.
good.
Fry the Coop's real
And
good.
check that out.
I would-
Chicken
I would-
sandwich, man.
I would-
Hopefully they can send
Yeah.
some chicken sandwiches
Very
next
good.
episode.
Yes, maybe we could
You
get
can
a
get them
taste testing
delivered
from
or
Fry the
something.
Coop.
there's actually this there's this place called Howlin' Ray's out
Okay.
in like LA. It's in like Chinatown, and there's like it's like in the middle of Chinatown, like
Yeah.
in like
Howlin'
in-
Rays.
yeah in this it's great. Like the mascot is like this chicken that's just like but no, it's the best hot chicken. Now, granted, I've never been to Nashville, so
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah, you might have to go to the.
maybe
you
I'm
know.
a bit ignorant on this subject, but like
Yeah.
that's the best hot chicken sandwich I've had, and literally on weekends, like there'll be like an hour-long wait. So you like
Really?
show up early
Huh.
with like a cooler full of beer, and you like pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID,
Yeah.
you'd go there early
the war.
with a cooler full of beer, and you would sit there and you would share beers.
Are there any local ordinances about
And
just
then
sitting
you-
in this parking lot drinking beers and waiting?
Brown
paper bag.
actually a bunch of them.
It's not
Brown
even
paper bag.
like it's strange. Like there's like a larger building, and you're kind of like in like the inside,
Like
not a
corridor,
vestibule
yeah.
or what? Not
Tunnel.
Yeah,
no, it's not corridor, but
okay.
like courtyard maybe. But
A
it's all
courtyard,
covered.
okay.
It's covered. So
Okay.
I don't know how to explain
So
it
there's no
exactly.
rules.
I'm not an architect.
there's
I
no
don't
rules.
understand what the difference between a foyer and a vestibule
Yeah,
is.
whatever. We didn't bring you here for your knowledge of
Oh, that's good.
vestibules and such.
Building
You know,
structure.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
in terms of ordinances, there are some breweries that cannot have people outside drinking. It happens here in Villa Park when Moore had 200 people or 600 people waiting down the prairie path.
Yeah, they're just hanging out drinking
for their
beers.
beer release to
Yeah.
open at noon or 11 or whenever they sold it.
That's not
But-
condoned by them, right? So, I mean,
It's
like,
a city, so
It's only-
well, it's not up to.
It's
not like
only
Moore would
illegal
get
if you get
ticketed
caught.
for it. Like,
well, that's true. But
I
some,
subscribe to that. Yeah.
the brew.
It's
I
only
think
legal if
some
you get
places
caught.
will find the brewery if the people are outside their facility doing it. So
That's
it's
kinda
like one of those,
BS.
like, it
I
is.
mean,
It is.
they have no control over that.
I know microphone cannot have people.
It's not like
sitting
they
in the
have,
line drinking.
staff like
It's like a
walking up
very
and down the line,
microphone
making
in,
sure you're not drinking. Like,
Where's microphone?
I don't know.
It's bogus.
you're on the
Elk
prairie
Grove?
path.
Elk Grove.
Like,
Yeah, leave me alone.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
So-
microphone in Elk Grove cannot have people outside drinking. It's like a very big thing with the
Okay.
city. Like every release, they say like, please do not drink outside.
Gotcha.
We will
Yeah.
get in trouble. Like we do not want to
Please
pay these
don't-
fines.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll come back on us. Please don't do that. So I've seen that because I live very close to Mar Brewery. We're a couple blocks away. I've seen those lines around the building.
I've been in each one. Every single one. That's
every
been
single
there.
one, yeah?
Every single one.
So-
Even the ones at the 3 a.m.
So why?
freezing.
So why is it? They don't
It's-
have a lot of product. It's like a small batch.
It's very
Or-
small batch.
okay.
It's
It's like a collector thing.
typically barrel aged stouts, and
Okay.
it's just like there's 600, 550 bottles, and
Wow.
if you're in line, you get one. If not, you
So
don't.
have you stood in those lines and got and like? Hey,
So I'm
we're
usually
out.
like within the first 150, 200 people, which like usually got the first 2 bottles, and then after that amount, you get 1 bottle.
Okay.
So we would go there at 6 a.m, start drinking,
Yeah.
waiting for them to open at 11, 12.
Yeah.
And just like we're doing here, imagine
Yeah.
this tenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fun time.
It's a great time until you got to get home.
That's fantastic. See, I might need to. I don't even care to go stand in the line for that. I might just walk over next time to start boozing with you guys early, just because you're there, and it's like, why not? You know?
Well,
Yeah.
if you're already there, you might as well buy the bottles.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll bring my wallet on me. Yeah.
And sell them back to Bryan.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And then we won't get
I'll
too
sell
far
them
into
for
it.
double.
But
Double
there is
cost,
a
yeah.
humongous beer underground market that I won't divulge into over
Yeah,
multi-platforms
Yeah.
online, and that's kind of where all the lure of standing in the line and all this stuff comes from. Because as much as it is and impossible to find these things, if you actually have to buy them off someone willing to sell them, they can get up in the multi-thousands.
Really?
Yes.
It's pretty rare. Most
Pretty
don't get
rare.
past 100, but
Yeah.
there's a few that get into hundreds.
And is
there's
that just something that would, again, they're never going to brew again or something, or why?
it's the same thing as kind of like wine. Wine, you could pay like thousands of dollars for a bottle.
No, absolutely.
And that's fermented grape juice.
Yeah.
This is fermented grain juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so word of mouth, rarity, the excitement about it.
Yeah.
Everything adds to the price.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand at its finest. Yes,
exactly right. Oh man, and like I said, I've always see those lines, and I'm like, why? Like, what is the whole thing? But that makes complete sense.
Yeah, some people wait in those lines because there's something in another state they want to try. So
I see
they
people
make
wait in lines for iPhones. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Or
But
Jordan.
Now here's the
Jordan,
question.
true
Like
story.
so I think Jordan's is a much more comparable analogy because a lot of the people, the vast majority of people waiting in line for iPhones are for their own benefit.
Yes.
They're going to use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jordan's are a secondary market mostly.
Yeah.
Besides collectors.
Yeah.
Which drive the secondary.
And Jordan's
market.
is a pretty cool little subsect of people that are into that sneaker game because
Game.
It's big though. People
Yeah,
are
it's
like,
crazy.
you guys are big into beer. There's a whole subsect of the population that is just like
I would say
every
Jordan's
new
is even
release,
more ridiculous than beer is because I've seen some of the
it's been
sneakers
around
go.
longer.
Yeah.
Not as far as beer. Beer's been around longer, but as far as like a cult following, like craft brews, like
No,
you're
I'd actually
saying.
say like because Jordan's were like late 80s, like real craft beer and collecting probably didn't start until sometime in the 2000s.
Early,
That's what I'm saying. I think the
mid-2000s.
Jordans
I
have
mean, I guess
actually
Dark
been
Lord
longer.
Day started maybe earlier than that, but
Yeah.
like if you have one of the original Dark Lords, like it's
Yeah.
unobtainium. Like people will pay
Yeah.
a lot of money for
And
that.
it probably tastes like garbage. Being 20
Right, yeah,
years
but
old.
they'll still pay that
Yeah.
amount of money. It's funny.
I mean, some of these people, are they even going to drink it though? We're just going to
You don't know. You would hope so.
Yeah.
But like some people just
They just wanna have it.
It's an investment too.
Yeah.
Like it could be
down the
compounding
road,
every year. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah, like why would you buy like a house if you don't plan on living in it? Why would you buy a company if you don't
But people do though.
plan on doing other thing than selling it?
I'm
Like-
actually in an industry where we know a CEO of an entertainment company. The guy built a $3 million house in Elmhurst, and he's like, yeah, we'll probably be here like a week, a year. So he's like, we have like 10 houses. This is the smallest one we've ever built and stuff. It's like, people are out there. It sounds stupid, but I feel like there are probably people that buy this stuff and they want to be the collector. They like the stuff and it's probably just sitting on their shelf and they never necessarily intend on drinking it. but-
We have friends that have 20-foot by 10-foot walk-in coolers in their houses.
Really?
Just filled with beer. Like
That's badass.
it is phenomenal what
That's
some of
pretty
these
cool.
people will
like
do.
a beer cave in your basement. That's
Yeah,
badass.
literally like the whole basement is just like this presentation to
Yeah.
drink
Or
beer.
That's
or
awesome.
just
That's
large
super
chunks
awesome.
of your condo.
What do you say?
Or just large chunks of your condo.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's wall-to-wall rooms.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Just
No,
crazy.
I have one small room that has several hundred bottles in it.
So
And
you
then-
have like a 2-bedroom condo. It's like 1 bedroom for you, 1 bedroom for your beer.
so
That's
Yes.
yes.
Pretty much.
That's a yes.
so the MLS
cat.
site was 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
So technically, one whole closet of the third, not really third bedroom,
Yeah.
is beer storage.
Okay.
I also have a commercial fridge that's full of beer, a kegerator that has probably like 10 or 12 bottles in it right now, a mini fridge that's full of beer, a kitchen refrigerator that
Richard's
has
stocking us
more
up.
beer than I should have in it, and probably like another 12 shippers full of beer. That
So you're good for like if
haven't-
another COVID scare goes. You got to leave the house for fucking months. You'll be fine.
So us collectors that bachelor it out, like my current state of my fridge, I have to be conscientious about when I go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Because half of my fridge is literally beer.
yeah.
It's like sad to
it's
say.
taking up my beer real estate. We
Yeah,
need
I
less
can only
food
fit
in the
this
house.
much groceries in here.
Throw the lettuce out. We don't
Are
need
you
that
are
shit.
you
It's
ever
taking up
like
too much room.
like fuck? I don't want to drink this beer because it's so expensive and I could trade it for more, or like
I
do
mean,
you,
there's been
do you
times-
actually like you know what? Fuck it. Like I want to drink this.
It depends
Like how
on
do you
like if I
decide?
paid like top dollar to acquire it, or if I like am in a membership where it's like I got it already and I didn't pay like this is the normal price for it. So
Huh.
I'm usually not one to be like a stickler about like, oh, I have to open this at this time because like it's just let's enjoy it. It's a good beer. If it's a celebration like Halloween, I'll open any beer. Like let's go to my cellar. You point.
I mean, it's ultimately meant to be drank, right? So.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people hung up on like prices, and they'll be like, I can't drink this beer because of XYZ, or I'm waiting for this time. And it's just like, you'd be think like it's a beer, you want to enjoy it, but some people just put a price tag to the product, and you know,
but
everyone's
like
different.
like is the I can't drink this
Jesus.
yet? Like, are they waiting for like a special enough occasion?
I'm not putting anyone.
This
on
is
blast,
like
so.
straight up syrup.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I don't really know because I'm not like that.
So I'm not a huge whiskey guy, but I have this like one of these old Eagle Rare decanters where it's like the Eagle.
This is seriously
And
like orange
It's still got
juice.
like
It's
the
thick.
the tax label on it or whatever, that ribbon that like obviously once you open it you break that ribbon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like I've kind of been waiting for like a special occasion to actually break that open, which it may or may not be full of like lead-based paint, so it could, but at the same time, like I'm not just gonna like, oh, it's Friday, I'm just gonna open this.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So let's talk about this one really quick. We've already started talking about this. This one is thick.
This was
Yeah.
even more juicy
This
than the other
legitimately
one.
has
It is-
some pulp in it.
So
I think this
so
is,
this is like 2C thick.
yeah.
Yes.
What-
Well, you
This
had
is
the
thick
no
with two
pulp, and now you
Cs.
get the pulp
Yeah,
version.
this is
I-
holy Lord.
I mean,
I
if
feel
you
like we're
poured
all
someone a
just, like,
glass of this and they
asking
didn't
me to
know it
kill
was
all these
alcohol,
beers.
like they would
So
think
what
this was
kinda-
orange juice.
Hey, you're in a good spot for this. You know.
Well,
So tell us about this one again.
This is a Berliner style.
I like how the
Weiss
guy
beer.
holding the axe is the guy you're giving like the most alcohol to.
yeah,
What could go
absolutely.
wrong?
Feel free
Oh, wait,
to
wait,
sit
hold
that
on.
down anytime
Wait,
you want.
what? No, it's not what can go wrong. No, wait, it is what can go wrong, right? The
So again, don't quote me on this, but because they call it a smoothie style, I believe, and even from the taste and how it looks, they're using sorbet and like some, or not sorbet, a puree, and
Puree.
some, like
It's gotta be.
yeah, mango, banana, or pineapple, and some kind of mass to get that thickness. Whereas
Yeah.
this one didn't actually have it.
Yeah.
This one was like more like the
I'm
fruit
not
was just
sure
added
we're
to
Like
it.
I would
beer at
question
this
whether or not
point.
there's actually grain in this beer.
He says, "I'm not sure we're drinking beer."
I don't think there's actually
I'm
grain.
just-
in it.
And if you can believe
I'm
it,
just
this
gonna
is
like
actually
keep rubbing
8%.
this axe head.
Really?
Like
Yes, it tastes like nothing.
Wow.
It just tastes like I'm drinking juice.
It's crazy.
It
You guys should
seriously
probably-
tastes like juice. Like this is look.
Yeah, take a sip of this. It's crazy. This is definitely. I wouldn't think when you say beer that this is what I'd be drinking.
This
But
tastes like a
it's tasty.
mimosa with like a tiny bit of champagne.
This is what beer has become. It's like the styles get
Yeah.
pulled to the far
Extreme.
extreme.
and this is where all the Europeans would be like, yeah, Americans.
I mean, I share that opinion, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean,
like this is going.
I don't know that I would
maybe
call
too
this
far.
beer.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I don't think there's any malt in this at all. I'd be curious on how they made it.
Yeah.
We got one more. It's the dark fruit one.
All right, let's go. Let's go. And that's how does it pronounce it?
Yeah,
Currant?
lightning round.
You got some currant?
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 Currant? Yes.
Wait, do we need to take any questions or whatever? Or?
Oh,
all right.
cool. Yeah. Are you guys cool with another segment? You guys are good. to
Yeah,
go?
yeah, we're good.
I'll do
We're
one
good.
more.
Are you guys going to be able to hang with
Bears
me?
can't go.
With
We're
me
good.
drinking
we're
all
good.
this
No,
beer
we're
and
not.
holding this
Oh,
axe?
I'm good. Oh, I'm good. Yeah. I
He's a
live
savage.
Here. I live here.
He
so
doesn't have to go
I
home.
don't have to go anywhere.
After that amount of barley wine, he's staying.
If it gets really bad for me, I end up having to sleep in that little house right there because I don't get let inside anymore. But, teach their own.
To each their own. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
And cheers to the
finished
Bears.
mine,
Cheers to the
but-
Bears.
No Nostrovia.
Potentially having another fourth quarter comeback or something here because it's not looking great. It's not looking great for us.
Wait, it was
Chicago
313.
fans.
It's still 313?
He's got sacked again from what I saw. Yeah, I would love.
I hope
the-
they
I'd
landed
love
right
the
on-
score. We're
Big
six-
Nick
So maybe,
Nick's
maybe
big
a
dick.
controversial
Which actually
perspective,
is
but I really don't
surprisingly
care
hard to
about
say.
sports.
I don't. You heard Diggs over here? He said this might be controversial, but
I don't really care about sports at all.
You don't like the foosball?
you got
No,
too much
yeah,
time
I just
spent,
don't-
being a chemist in your goddamn garage.
Yeah,
brewing beers and stuff.
Yeah, I just
Usually
don't know.
the
I just
people
don't
that
watch-
share that are the people that are just
Are you
like
really a chemist?
driven on
No.
some other kind of
Okay.
hobby.
You're gonna
Which
be
is
like,
great, 'cause,
I asked about
we're-
activation
we're
energy.
No,
using
I'm
it.
not really a
Like other
chemist,
people
no.
just out there making beer.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly right.
how you choose
How
to
you spend your time.
spend the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't really
I'm not
watch
a big
sports at
video
all.
game guy. A lot of guys spend a lot of time playing video game.
I play a lot of video games.
I don't even have the time. I wouldn't even have an hour to go play.
I don't know how I find the time.
I'm telling you. As most people find the time from like hours of like 2 a.m. to like 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. maybe.
I guess my time would be like where someone would watch TV. I'm just playing video games.
Yeah.
So
What do you play?
I do watch a decent amount of TV.
What games do you play?
Netflix series.
Yeah. I watch bad
What games
TV
do you
too,
play?
but- yeah, what games do you play here?
Mostly Magic the Gathering online, as goofy as that is. There's a game
Online?
called it's the card game, paper cardboard game
Yeah, yeah.
online. I play GTFO, which is a first-person puzzle horror shooter game.
You are
Wait, you
playing.
said
I knew you were gonna
GTFO?
say
Wait,
Call of Duty or
GTFO?
something.
It's called
yeah.
Get the Fuck Out.
Oh, Magic
That's
the
like
Gathering.
GTFO.
Yeah.
Like, what?
But this game's crazy because
Okay.
it's like you have to be like very like cautious about where you go and like how you step and like
Yeah.
it's a puzzle to like you run into these monsters and if you awaken them like all hell breaks loose
Yeah.
and like you are not equipped to like fight this many things on screen at once. So it's a lot of fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. See, I never got into the video game, the video game. You know, but my time is more so spent doing things like this. You know.
This is great.
But you know, what are you gonna do? But I like to watch the Bears, and unfortunately, again, we got flexed, and we're mid-game here, and they're playing just like they have pretty much the first 3 weeks, which is play really bad for a long period of time, and then just somehow pull it off at the end. So
Who are they playing?
they're playing Indy right now, which they're not a very good team.
Aren't they historically terrible?
Andy is 2
For a
and 1.
little while, they were good because they had Peyton Manning. So
You say that being like that was the team that beat us in the Super Bowl.
they did beat us in the Super Bowl in 2006.
When we're winning by a lot.
Yeah. Well, not that much.
Well, a touchdown
Well,
right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Touchdown at first play of the game, Devin Hester. Yes. Yeah.
That was beautiful.
It doesn't get any better than that. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't want to talk about it. I
Yeah.
don't want to start tearing up on
how,
camera.
how could you have beaten that? Like a 2-point conversion? Like there's nothing that gets more points than a touchdown.
And it's the best start to any game ever.
Yeah.
It's the best way to do it.
First
You
play of
start
the
a
game, you
Super
score a
Bowl out.
touchdown. Like you can't beat that unless we went for 2 and made it.
Yeah. That would have sweetened the deal slightly, but
And yet at the same time, it wouldn't have mattered.
we didn't only lose by 1.
Ouch.
So let's take a little break. We're going to come back. We got one more beer to try and got a little bit more bantering to go on. We got some questions,
Only
too.
one.
All right,
All the
perfect. We'll
banter.
see you back here in a second. All right, we're back for a fourth segment here. We got a color-changing fire right now. That's something new to Bonfire Banter. I don't know. We have a lot of technology going on now. A lot of money was spent to make that fire look that way. So enjoy it, boys.
A lot of toxic chemicals.
Enjoy. Yeah, I don't know how it does. It could be, it could not be. We're taking a risk. Breathe it in. We'll see what happens. So what do we got here? We're going the
I didn't
Courant.
gently roll this can.
Oh,
It's
the
gonna be
Courant.
interesting.
How's it gonna
Sorry.
taste now?
Sorry.
You screwed us.
Well, what's either going to happen is my first pour that I'm going to give myself is going to be very light, or it's just going to. Okay, I think it's all right.
All right.
Kind of got some.
You didn't wreck it
thickness going in
completely?
there. No, I don't think so. Give it a slight swirl. So this is a Bistro Raspberry Black Currant.
Black Currant.
Currant.
Are you sure it's pronounced
Courant.
Currant. I think you got a Roliar too. I think there's a
From Energy
Courant.
City.
Energy City. So these are the guys again in Batavia. You were saying.
Let's see if it's on a Church Street. Hold on.
Potentially Batavia.
It does have a black currant color, if I can, you know.
This is not State Church Street, so I think they brewed this at their
Oh,
own
they might have
facility.
done their own on this one.
Not contract.
Not
brewed.
taking-
Oh, at the old Batavia.
Batavia.
What is that?
Batavia.
Oh, Batavia.
Batavia.
Like,
Batavia.
that one went over my head. I didn't catch that one. Let's see what we got here.
So as always, let's see
You guys leave us
what
any.
you think of when you taste it first, since
All right, let's go.
we kind of know what to expect here.
Yeah, you guys are in the game. Finish is pretty sweet, but
It's a straight up juice.
Saison styled beer.
again, it's like, is it? Don't make this again. It's like back to
Definitely not a traditional style of saison.
It's like a fruit beer. There are some like kind of
Uh,
saison-y notes. Saison-y, if that's
Saison-y. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a thing now
In our
because
own
you said it.
verbiage.
But yeah, it's a little Saison-y. I would agree with you
Yeah,
there.
just call me Billy Shakespeare, making up words as I go.
Yeah, that's all you need to do. Snoop Dogg did it for a long time. Just say put Isla at the end of anything.
Still doing
It's hard to
Yeah.
smell what I would. So I haven't tasted it yet. So I'm just analyzing what I know of saisons. It's hard to identify what I would call a saison just by its smell.
it's 100% not there in any fashion that you would probably consider
just drank too
traditional.
much.
Yeah, it's not. I don't smell like
There's definitely
banana.
puree, I
It's
think.
not on the
clove or
nose.
any
You
of
get it
that.
on the taste a little bit.
Yeah.
So with a traditional saison, you're gonna get banana and clove. You said.
No.
Yeah, with a saison. Oh yeah.
It depends on what you make, but I mean, you get the funky
No,
ones,
like
too, that are
banana and
more,
clove is more
grassy.
like a German Weiss beer.
No. I
Like
disagree with you
Kellerweiss?
there. Well, I mean, yeah, you would get banana with like a Hacker-Shore or other Weiss type beer, but like banana is like a huge flavor that I definitely associate with like saisons. And this.
Oh.
I think saisons are more like got like sometimes like a little funk to them, and
Yeah, we associate it with like funk. Like we take like side projects or other place to guard other breweries that are known for this style.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of like grassy notes, if that makes any
Okay,
sense.
no,
It's
no.
like, it's in the
Yeah.
taste.
In wine, I know that there's
And
earthy
They
tones
usually
and stuff
look
like that.
A
I mean,
little
I
bit
could.
cloudy. They're not clear.
Okay.
They just have a little bit like it's the word people use is like how funky are they?
Yeah, and a funky is just again like just the flavor profile of them. They got a little like tang to it, or like I don't even know the right verbiage.
It's like when you taste it, you know it's hard
You know,
to like
yeah.
If you had
tell
like a
you
dried
exactly what
steak,
that
Yeah,
like
is.
a dried
yeah.
steak is kind of funky,
Yeah.
like
the what is you said?
like a dried steak is kind of funky.
okay.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of
Or like blue cheese is kind of funky.
Right,
you
exactly.
know?
So blue cheese is kind of similar with
Yeah.
dried steak, but
Yeah.
And a lot of times they
tastes
smell
like
like
a
a
lot of
dirty
berry.
boot.
just
And
straight
they just
berry.
taste really good. It's
Yeah.
like weird. Like you smell, you're like, I wouldn't ever want to
Yeah.
even try that.
Ingest
And then you
this,
try it,
yeah.
It's like, wow, what? Where's all this flavor coming from
Yeah.
that smell?
Yeah, I didn't smell into a couple things deep, but
This smells
this one
fruity,
smells good
yeah.
though. Yeah, this one smells
It's like
fruity,
traditional ones that don't have like fruit
but they
added.
smell dirty
because
and
it's
yeah.
like
See, that
the
might turn me
souring
off,
agent
even if the
and,
flavor
like,
is good.
The yeast that it's not infected, but it's like semi-infected
Okay.
to make that taste.
Yeah, yeah.
It's more on the sour side than it is on the sweet.
Saisons aren't typically sour though.
Not all of them.
I've had a couple sour beers. This guy, I had a customer, and he did some home brew, and he had a sour. And I like most beers. Everything you guys give me, I can like drink, and I'm like not like, oh my god, I can't keep this in my mouth. Like the sour beer that this guy had made, and I don't know if that's every sour beer. That's the only sour beer I've ever tried. I can't handle it.
I don't like
Was it
sour
like-
beer either.
It was fucking sour,
what
man.
the descriptor is for that? Does it feel like it was going to take off the enamel of your teeth?
Yes.
Yes. So that's probably a kettled sour,
Okay.
and you can explain that process probably better than I can. But it's basically like it's like insta souring it so hard
Okay. Yeah.
that like literally people.
It was
equate to,
crazy.
Like,
I'm
pulling
like,
your enamel
how
off
can
your teeth.
someone like enjoy to drink this? I'm like, I think a fucking
I like
warhead
them, but
like
it's
melted
like
down.
sharing
Like,
them
Yeah.
and having
Oh
them in
my
this quantity,
God.
like
Typically,
22
how
ounce.
Cower settles. Sour kettled beers are made, which I've never made. I don't really fuck around with sour beers.
Yeah.
And I don't really enjoy them. So
I don't either.
my experience with them is limited, but I believe how they make them is like, so once your mash is done and you're at the boil stage and you've boiled the beer and you let it cool, or even not, you can still let it warm. You infect it with an actual bacteria this time,
Yeah,
not
there it's a
not
bacteria.
a yeast strain, which would be a fungus strain, and you let it sit in the kettle
And it
for
drops the pH.
20. Yeah.
So you end up with not just something that's sour, but also something that's very acidic.
So, well, that's essentially what sour is it's acidic, and so they'll let it sit in the kettle then for 24 hours or less or longer, depending on they'll taste it, and then what they'll do is reboil it after that sourness is at the level that they want. Once it's at that sour level, then they bracket it into a fermenter, add yeast, and then ferment it. So the sourness is added prior to fermentation. So it's a sour beer, then they ferment it, and then
Okay.
that's what creates the alcohol, and they go from there.
Yeah. So
I
are you
guess
guys into sours? You
Yes,
guys like some sour
I
beers?
love them.
I personally don't like them.
Yeah.
I like heavily fruited sours that
Okay.
are that sour, but they put like this much fruit in them. So you
Gotcha.
get that like it's gonna rip
It's a
off your
little
teeth,
balance,
but
yeah.
it tastes just like fruit. So it's like a very kind of tricky thing because it tastes really good, but it is sour.
Yeah. Okay.
Some I've tasted, like commercial examples, like like Flemish sours and those things. it'll almost taste like stomach bile, like to me, and like
Or like medicine.
and like it just kind of elicits this just like gagging kind of reflex out of me that I don't like them.
Yeah.
Like Berliner Weisses, sometimes you can have sour Berliner Weisses and whatnot, and they're a lighter beer, lighter souring, and
Well, they're considered more like tart, which
right,
is still sour.
right. I prefer
but
them more tart.
softer.
I prefer tart to sour.
Soft sour.
Even though I love sour candy, so like sour Skittles, I love sour Skittles, and I love like Sour Patch Kids and just sour
you
candies.
just don't like sour beer.
Don't like sour beer.
See, 'cause I don't like sour stuff at all. I
Yeah.
don't like any of that stuff. I'm a chocolate guy. Like, that's why like that one you brought out was right up my alley. Like if I'm gonna eat sweet stuff, it's chocolate. It's not soury Skittles or shit like that.
So
That's not my
if
jam.
you're having like sweet and sour chicken, does
Yeah.
like half of your mouth like perk up and the other half like makes it frown?
Have you seen me eat sweet sour and chicken? How'd you know that?
I just had an intuition.
I think it was dead on there. So we got a couple of viewer questions here.
There's
So
a comma in the first one.
let's
Be
go
careful.
to he's got a couple of things here. Let's go Jason Robles, and he's asking us how many people does a keg serve?
Comma.
Do you guys?
It depends on the man.
Yeah, we'll start
well,
there.
that's true. That's true. It depends on the man. Depends on the party. Well, or woman
And the
for that
size of
matter.
the
How many? Do you guys know how many
but
beers are in like a keg?
Quarter
Like,
kegs, pony kegs.
let's just say a full keg. You know how many
So
beers?
A half barrel
normal,
keg.
A standard keg is like a half barrel,
Yeah, it's
which is roughly like 15 and a half gallons.
right.
Okay.
So
I think it equates to
Around 250 beers.
yeah, it was like something like
Something
around
like that?
like 200 something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
12
Depending on
ounce
how-
pours.
Right. So if you're
Okay.
pouring 16-ounce glasses, it'd be less.
yeah,
Um,
if you're pouring,
Yeah, it depends on the
52
pour.
ounce glasses, it'd be
okay,
much less.
if we've got a 15.5 gallon
If
keg
you got a bunch
bur-
of boots.
I can do math.
if you've got a 15.5 gallon keg of Pilsner versus 15.5 gallon keg of barley wine,
Yeah.
I mean that's a whole different.
It's gonna serve a lot more.
Dude, at my
Yeah.
house, the barley wine would get drank way faster.
Yeah, and it would turn into a shit show way
Yeah.
sooner.
That too.
So then his other part of the question was, any Canadian beers that are only sold in Canada? Do you guys know of any?
There definitely are. Besides like the obvious Canadian small breweries that don't distribute to America.
Yeah.
There are. I can't think of names off the top of my head, but like
I
the big
wouldn't
ones
know.
come here, but there's smaller ones. that-
You'd think like,
Wait.
why wouldn't you? But
Canadian breweries or Canadian microbreweries? Because like Rickards, like I never see south of the border.
you go to Canada and get some of this stuff,
I
or
never go to Canada. I go
Oh,
to
gotcha.
Canada maybe once every, at my pace, like once every 4 years.
I don't think
Okay.
you can even get into Canada right now.
But it's kind of
but-
like
no? Probably right now you can't.
Yingling
Yeah.
too. It's like East Coast all the
Yep.
way to Indiana.
Yep.
Here we don't get
Yep.
it.
Right.
You can't get it here yet.
But you can drive
When
right
I was in
across
Florida-
the border and get a bunch
Unless
of it.
Yep.
you go to Canada, like how do you know the beers that only go to Canada? You don't know that they exist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
they're
that's-
definitely out
yeah.
there.
Unibrow from
Don't know
Canada.
specifics.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we see distribution from Unibrow down there. We
Yeah.
see distribution from Dew to Seal. We see distribution from what's the name of it?
Lakeshore.
I'm trying to think. Was it like
You talking big?
no, it was like Flying Monkey or something. I think it's Flying
Flying,
Monkey.
flying dog, maybe.
No, I don't think it's Flying
No.
Dog.
Flying
I think
Dog's
it's something
California.
monkey.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, it'd be difficult to name Canadian breweries
Yeah.
that don't
I
see
think it's
distribution out here. Being
It's a tough question.
group of 4 people that don't really go to Canada all
Yeah.
the time.
I've never
Yeah.
been to Canada.
It's a tough
and-
one. I'll give you that.
Like when I go to Canada, it's not like I'm going to like Toronto necessarily. It's like, oh, I'm going to like Quebec City, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's not exactly the microbrew capital of
Yeah.
Canada.
I can't think of anything that's like highly sought after from Canada
Okay.
that we don't have access
His
to
other
here.
second part of this question was, like, what Canadian beers do you like? Basically, have you ever any IPAs from Canada or anything that you've had in Canada that you like? Any of you guys?
Well, Unibrow, but I mean,
Unibrow is what, a smaller like a microbrewery?
I don't know
Or-
how big they are,
Triple and quadruple.
but they make a lot of They make a lot of Belgian style
Yeah.
beers,
Okay.
which is my
Maybe up
first
my
love
alley.
of craft brewing was Belgian style beers, and I've had plenty of those. Lafine du Monde is excellent.
So it's French.
Yeah, Lafine du Monde at the end of the
Little-
world is
Oh,
like what it
The
means,
end of the
and
world,
like
okay.
It is Canada at the end of the
It
day.
is
but
I was
it is
gonna
Canadian.
say,
It's a Canadian,
very
It's true.
French.
it's
They are
Canadian
French.
beer. But I really don't have that much experience with Canadian beer, frankly.
Yeah, right.
Like nothing like that screams to me like, oh,
this
this
is
yeah,
Canada.
so Flying
Yeah.
Monkey is in Barrie, Ontario. So
Oh, Flying.
It was Flying
okay,
Monkey.
Flying
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So they make my experience with them has been mostly their adjuncted stuff, which is heavily adjuncted. So
if you want that chocolate milk, like, taste, get one of their chocolate beers. You won't be disappointed.
Can you get them here though? Like at a store?
A buddy of mine from Michigan got them, and I don't think he crossed the border. So
Okay.
now whether he bought them in a store or traded,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how he acquired
that went down.
them.
Yeah.
But can they be acquired without crossing the border? Yes. I also like Dieu de Seal. I think they make some really good beers.
Okay.
So they're out of like Montreal, and then they have like, I don't know if it's their first or second location, but it's like 40 minutes northwest of Montreal.
Yeah.
So I've been there before. That was kind of cool.
That's okay. So again, I mean, tough Canadian question here. Again, none of us are hanging out in Canada a bunch, but we have Emma, who is apparently Rob, our director, was in a band at some point with. Emma, shout out to you, Emma. She was a singer of your band? Hell yeah, I love it. She was a screamer, wasn't she?
I saw you guys at Moe's.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
instrument did
Talking
you
about
play,
her
Rob?
band
Rob, what'd you
activity?
play in the band? What instrument?
Rob was a
Really?
bassist, so he's
Slapping the
getting,
bass.
slapping that bass, man. So listen, we got Emma asking, what beers do you guys feel get a bad rap but are actually pretty good, or at least they're not as bad as they're perceived, kind of thing.
I'm gonna have to go with everything that's lager because that's what every like craft beer person kind of stands against. There are craft beer lagers now. It's like the big next wave coming.
Okay.
But like most people are like, oh, I don't like light beers. But the actual like art of lagering big production batches is very difficult.
I
to
can
get
imagine.
it the same thing every time. There's
Yeah,
there's
'cause
such a high standard.
You were saying that, like, these different things and all these different, things that can happen. Like, every time I drink a Miller Lite, it tastes the exact same way.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, or,
that's
like,
got to be difficult based on what you guys are telling me.
There's nothing to hide behind.
Not saying
Yeah.
they can't do that, but like the next time this specific beer comes out, it might not taste exactly
the same.
on cue with this. Where there's
Yeah.
like a Budweiser has to taste like a Budweiser to
That's
the
their
taste
brand.
profile, or they dump it.
Yeah,
So it's kind of crazy. Like
it is. Yeah.
like big production lagering is a very difficult task.
Yeah. Makes a ton of sense to me. I mean, again, to get that consistency in your product and you don't want it wavering back and forth. I mean, it's like,
Oak Park Brewing is a relatively newer brewery in the last few years they specialize in lagers. They make excellent lagers. And all they make, I think, are lagers, and they're all really damn good. But you wouldn't 5 years ago you wouldn't like go to a brewery that only does lagers. Like that's just a weird thing, And so
weird thing to
would agree with that.
specialize
I
in.
would
But
agree with that.
even like European breweries very rarely only do lagers. Like they might do like a Helles, but they also might do like a Maibach. They might do a Marzen. So even within like the realm of lagers, they still kind of like branch out.
There is a breadth of just lagered beer. I mean, there's a lot of beers that are lagered, or even ales that are made with lager yeasts, or the opposite. Lagers that are made with ale yeasts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, one of the trends in like the homebrewing game is to make lagers with ale yeasts, or at least Kolsch yeast, which kind of straddle the line between lager and ale, and fermented at higher temperatures than you would normally ferment a lager at.
So a Kolsch isn't a lager then? I mean, it's a
It is
different kind of
It is a lager.
So
It is
like
a lager.
a Kolsch yeast should still be a lager yeast, like a different lager yeast.
A Kolsch yeast is closer to an ale yeast because it's top fermenting instead of bottom fermenting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like a tweener, but like in terms of like flavor profile.
In terms of flavor profile, what you produce are generally lagers with Kolsch yeast.
It's like a hoppier lager beer, right?
Well, no, but I mean, it's all about the yeast. It doesn't. The hops
Okay.
is down to whatever you freaking put in the
I
boil.
stand corrected.
But if you're making a Kolsch, like you're not using much hops. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Some
just
places do though.
like
It's
if you
hopped up.
well
You're
yeah
making a New England IPA.
you have
you're
to
not
use
using
you
much
have to use hops, but it's just there to simply like if you were to not put any hops in a beer at all and just ferment it like how it came out of the kettle, it would be obscenely sweet and not very good. And so the hops just balance out like that sweetness that you get from the sugar. So that's kind of where the balance kind of lies.
okay. So I got one from Al Lipper. He's been on the show before. Al,
I don't know. Al.
thank you for your question. Thanks for all your help always, Al. This is a funny one. Why are IPA beers so popular but bitter and shitty?
That's a good question. No, that's a valid question. That's a valid question. I think that like when IPAs first started becoming popular, I think back to like Dogfish Head, like 90-minute IPA.
I've had 90-minute IPA.
That was much more
120-minute
balanced.
120.
90 was very
120 is
balanced.
hot.
You know, and
it
I
is.
think that like so I echo back. So like when I first started drinking beer, I hated IPAs vehemently.
I did
like,
too.
Just with vitriol.
Yeah.
Like I would fight you over my opinion over it.
Yeah.
Now I love them, but I think what it really became is like a maturity within the just general beer brewing circuit of like, okay, they started understanding how hops can be used. They understanding like isomerization of hops and boil. They started to understand alpha acids and how things should be used to balance flavor. And so initially when IPAs first came on the market, it was way different than anything anyone else had ever heard, and it was stronger flavored than anything else. And so everyone was like, yeah, I want this super strong flavor. And that was a small subset of people, relatively speaking. And that kind of petered out. And like now you have much more balance in hop flavor. You have much more balance in beer flavors. Like double IPAs and triple IPAs especially, like they get backed up by the alcohol content in these beers, and they become much more balanced, much more complex, and much more nuanced because brewers now understand how to use these hops, and they also have had more time to grow them. And so while you grew, you know, I don't know, what's a stupid hoppy hop like
Centennial,
or like these other hops that like they've had more time to grow them, and so the growing of them now has matured the plant as well. And so I think that like the hop itself has matured just through people growing them, but also drinkers have matured in like what they want out of beer. Like I don't think that you can go get an IPA that like literally sticks to your tongue with like how viscous and how sandpaper the hops are in the actual beer. Like now you have much more balance of flavor. Things are much more in control. They understand how the hops balance out grain and how to use them. People have learned how to use these hops now. Yeah. And so, well, yeah, maybe you can find hops that like taste like piss and like are shitty and like people just don't use them properly.
Yeah.
By and large, I don't think that's the trend anymore. I think people use them more precisely, more intelligently.
Like to be in the game right now, because there's so much competition, you got to be a little more precise. Just not knowing much about it, just hearing you guys talk, like there's a lot of people doing this shit. Like if you want to be good, you got to be precise. You got to be on top of your shit. And like
more a compounding nature for the last couple of years until recently, where it's actually started to decline because there's just oversaturation.
So much.
Yeah, we went from like 2,000 to 3,500 to like 7,000 the next year. It's like everyone thinks they can do it and they can. The problem is getting an audience that consistently comes and buys your product. Which if you make 10 breweries in the same town, it's gonna be tough. To get that.
You don't have that much of the population that is like you guys that are just like I'll stand in line, I'll do that stuff. Like one town can only support so many enthusiasts. Yeah. You know, it's like
it's really more about how strong the livers are. But to answer Al's original...
strong the what are?
The livers.
The livers?
Yeah, so, like, I mean, maybe that town can't support 10 breweries.
You're right. Like, but the college town or something, maybe.
So, as crazy as this sounds, if you go to England, go to some small English town and count how many people there are and how many pubs there are and do some math, and it's like, I guess these people like to drink.
I think that's also the way to figure out how you're going into the hood. I think Dave Chappelle told me one time, he said... You know, you start driving through, it's a liquor store, gun store, liquor store. You're like, where the hell are we at?
No, yeah, but that doesn't work in Chicago. No, it's really more liquor store, Catholic churches. Actually, no, I'm sorry, not even Catholic, Baptist churches. And how bad the sidewalks are. Yeah. But to go back to Al's original question, if he doesn't want bitter beers, he wants something maltier or something sweeter.
Anything.
Especially if he values. Like liver efficiency, you should check out some barley wine.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
But
I think that's good.
What's super interesting about the brewing industry in general is that
screw it.
Like, okay, if you own a brewery and I own a brewery, we're in the same town. We don't really compete with each other.
No, because you're brewing different things.
We're
right?
like your customers are my customers are your customers.
Yeah.
It's like one of the few industries that like are symbiotic. Like
the
more breweries that are around that create more culture and more awareness and more flavor.
Yeah.
that customers
better.
desire. And like, so if you have, imagine like you going out on a Sunday, whatever, like, hey, I want to hit a couple breweries. Like you go to this one, you go to that one, you go to this one. Like you're going through a bunch of them in a similar circuit. They're not necessarily competing with each other, perhaps.
Perhaps.
I'm
Let's see
going
what
to go ahead and disagree with
I was going
that.
to say, I think Matt disagrees because he's had his hand
Because
up.
at the end of the day, transplant patients aside, you, me, and just about everybody else, transplant patients aside, only has one liver. So like
Transplants.
and not only
Only
that,
get one liver.
so even neglecting financial implications where I can buy his beer or I can buy his beer, but I can't buy both of their beers. And yeah, it should be his or hers or his or hers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Everyone buys beer.
No, but like
He or Z or she.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. Well, my English teacher would really disagree with me using their for in place of his or her.
Not in
Depends on how you
man.
spell that
Not
there
anymore,
as
Not
well.
in
though.
2020.
Yeah.
But so like okay, so like I can go to a liquor store and I can buy a 4-pack. And maybe I can even buy 2 4-packs, but I can't buy all of the 4-packs.
Right.
Unfortunately.
As
so
much as you would like to.
I have to be discerning about where I spend my money. So I can't buy everyone's beer or I can't buy every release. And so something has to give way. Now, if there's only 2 breweries in town, yes, I get a 4-pack from guy A or Brewery A and a 4-pack from Brewery
You're very
B.
PC. Thank you so
I'm
much,
trying
Matt.
to
This
be-
is fantastic.
Look, it's difficult to adjust, but I'm trying.
So in answer to L's question, it's only shitty until you find the one that you
You
love.
like, yeah.
And there's so many different profiles and so many ends of the spectrum.
It's hard to say that you just
There's
hate
one out
it.
there
so,
for him.
So,
He
so
just
if
might not
you're
found it
in an unsaturated market, so say you're in a town of like 100,000 and there's like 2 breweries, it's like, yeah, they can both perfectly coexist peacefully
Yeah.
because people can buy what they want,
And they'll both
and
get sales.
you don't have financial or, for lack of a better word, liver constraints. when you have a much more concentrated market, all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, so people have limited dollars, so they can't buy both, or just like they can't drink both just on like how much they want to
Consume.
drink.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, and it's the number probably isn't 2, but like as we get up to that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, if we get to like 10 or whatever in a town, like obviously you're not
Yeah.
going to buy 10.
There
4-packs
is
of-
certainly a bubble, but
Yeah, yes.
but all I'm trying to
I
get
know what
at,
you're saying. I think I agree
all I'm trying to
with
get
that.
at is like it's one market that like if you're the only brewery in town and another brewery opens up, you shouldn't be afraid of that fact
Yeah.
that like there's another brewery. 'Cause,
If
like,
your town's
what it
only
really
like 300
does,
people, like that.
well, what it does is like the more breweries that like imagine some small town Wisconsin, like some brewery starts up there, okay, and then another brewery starts up there. What really ultimately happens is like say that initial brewery, all they make are small time lagers that are
Yeah, I was gonna say-
like big batch, big brewery style lagers like Coors Light, whatever. That's all they make because that's what their customers are accustomed to. Another brewery jumps in and they start making IPAs or whatever. Now your customer's like, maybe we want to try this. Now another brewery opens up. So ultimately what you're doing by not you, the individual brewery, but like your town, the royal we, is educating customers on what's available
Out there.
And
Yeah.
so now as you are starting to build education about what's available and what can be possible with beer, you're building palate, you're building what people like, you're building
because they're
taste.
taste testing things
And so in doing that, like now they're more interested in like going out to breweries, or now they're more interested in like actually experiencing things. Like look at how strip malls are developed. Like Nike in a strip mall, by itself like does maybe okay, but if there's a Foot Locker and if there's a whatever other shop in that same strip mall, maybe they'll get more business because now you have people like, oh, well, we'll check out what Nike's got, but let's see what also, Basics got. Let's see what also this other shop's got. So it builds like this community of like trying different things. And like you're not buying just one pair of shoes. Like you're buying multiple beers. And like maybe this weekend you're only going to Pollyanna or whatever, but next weekend you're going to whatever. Like so it has like so
I feel
craft
like
beer,
it helps build the community.
Craft beer
kind of.
helps educate people on what's possible, and their market share is expanding, whereas large giant breweries like Miller and Coors, whatever, they're fighting for the same shrinking size of the market that only wants that type of beer.
No, you're right.
You know what I mean?
There is an expansive aspect in terms of like the overall range of beers, but there's also going to be cannibalization within A is going to take from B and vice versa.
And this
and
is where we
whatnot.
got in Illinois, because Illinois is one of the highest distribution coast to coast and worldwide
Really?
of beers coming from Europe and what's available on our shelves here.
Yeah.
And
So,
Chicago has the most
Say
breweries
3 years
now.
ago, you go to a Binny's and these like highly sought after beers like Founders, Barrel Age, and all this stuff. It was like they'd get it in, sell it right away. You go to a Binny's now, and it's like aisles and aisles of stuff that would sell out in seconds 5 years ago. But now that stuff is saturated on the shelves because there's so many options. Even when I go to buy an IPA, the Binny's I go to, not to shout out to Binny's, but I go there from time to time.
Hey, thanks, Benny's.
They have this like
Thanks for sponsoring us, Benny's.
new release
Appreciate
shelf. And like you go there and there's like 25 IPAs on the shelf. It's all these good places, but you're like, which one do I choose? Because I can't buy them all because they're all $20 each for 4 cans.
And that's just kind of like more the point I was getting back before. Eventually, like people kind of crowd each other out.
Well,
maybe it's a bit of like
store shelf
alcoholic
space is
social
different than
Darwinism,
actual brewing tap rooms. All right, so you have two different business models. You have packaging, or you have tap room, and that's two different markets. Right,
but
so
the tap rooms have to have people coming in.
True.
Stay afloat.
But so look at Imperial Oak, for example. So Imperial Oak didn't do packaged beer for the first 5-6 years that they existed.
Yep.
And so all they had was in-person sales, and they thrived. And so they opened up a new shop on Ogden in Brookfield.
Brixie's.
Yeah, it was Chris, the old co-owner of Brixie's, also co-owns Imperial Oak. And so they I don't know ultimately how it all worked, but ultimately that became Imperial Oak 2 or whatever they're calling it. But they also now package. So yeah, I mean foot traffic
but do they send it to distribution? Because
Imperial Oak is starting to do distribution now. Yeah.
Okay. Because like everyone packages, or maybe not everyone, but a lot of breweries package, but it's all sold on site to go.
Right.
Whereas sending it to distribution, typically there's like an economic payoff where below like 7 barrels is like basically not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's ultimately not worth it. What really it does is bring brand awareness to customers, for you to go there and pay $8 a beer instead of $3 a can that they make nothing off of. Ultimately, you want to just go to Imperial Oak.
All right. Well, we were getting a call from the director. No, we got through all the questions.
All right.
I want to say thank you to all you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're going to I ran out. These guys told me it was ending. Cheers to all you guys. Really appreciate your time. Keep stoking those fires. Keep liking us. Keep subscribing. Keep checking us out. Let's grow this family. Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
We're talking to you soon. Bonfire Banter. We'll see you next week.